Hey party people, I'm Lia Scholl, pastor of First Friends Meeting in Greensboro, North Carolina. Last week I had someone ask, did you really say hey party people in the opening of your sermon? Yes, I did. I like to find interesting ways to speak gender inclusively to groups, and party people is my current favorite. I'm a little odd. And I also thought that it would be a good idea to preach on the Song of Songs in my third week as pastor here. So we probably need to be strong and courageous and do not be afraid, because the Lord our God is with us wherever we go. As I mentioned, I'm preaching from Song of Songs this morning. What an interesting book of the Bible. It has no interest in law or covenant or even the God of Israel, like the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible do. It doesn't teach wisdom like Ecclesiastes or Proverbs does. It isn't a prophetic book like Isaiah or Jonah, or even an apocalyptic book like Daniel. It doesn't even, on the whole, act like poetry in Hebrew like the Psalms. It also isn't a portrayal of what some folks would call biblical marriage, that old, tired, called for one man and one woman marriage, that in reality is not biblical marriage. It's not what biblical marriage looks like at all. Because although biblical marriage tends to be heteronormative, it is a messy affair. Dr. Wilda Gaffney says of this social construct marriage, abduction and rape marriages, polygamous marriages, and hierarchical domineering marriages are biblical. Thank God our understanding of sexuality and marriage has evolved since then. Song of Songs is a beautiful portrait of love and intimacy between two people. By the way, they're not married yet. And as such, an epiphany of God's love. In the first verse, where the New Revised Standard Version says, "You have ravaged my heart," it can also be said, "You have taken my heart." The verb there is levav in Hebrew, whose root word is heart, lev. So as Wilda Gaffney points it out, there's a single word that encompasses the action and the object. You have taken my heart is really, you have hearted my heart in a way. That single word encompassing the action and the object, that right there is the stuff of marriage, the stuff of love. And it is the work of life, levav, this single word, which encompasses the action and the object. In today's verses, our lovers are sneaking off to be together. So it's two people coming together after an absence. You know, sometimes I think the hardest part about relationships is the going apart and the coming together. And that the tensest moment of any day is that moment when we haven't seen each other all day and return to one another's company. We are anxious when we are apart, and we are anxious when we return until we reach the moment when we feel loved and appreciated together. Then we know everything will be okay. There are questions that happen when we go apart from one another. Is my partner still thinking about me? Does my partner still long for me when I'm gone? And there are questions when we return. Will my partner welcome me? Will my partner show me affection? Or will they ignore me? Will they listen to me? Experts talk about these anxieties using what they call attachment style. There are 3 common types of attachment styles. They are anxious, avoidant, and secure. People with anxious attachment styles possess the unique ability to sense when their relationship is threatened. Even the slightest hint that something is wrong can activate their attachment system. And once it's activated, it's difficult to calm down. They need a clear indicator from their partner that they are truly there for you and that the relationship is safe. People who have an avoidant attachment style can connect with romantic partners, but always maintain some distance or detachment. It's difficult for them to understand the needs of others. They also feel deeply the need to be self-reliant, and they expect others to be that way too. People who are secure attachers are programmed to expect their partners to be loving and responsive, and they really don't worry that much about losing their partner's love. Even in times of conflict, secure attachers trust that their relationships will hold. So let's go back to that moment of returning to one another. A person with an anxious attachment style will be worried that they are apart from their partner. Did they find someone else? Do they still love me? They'll need reassurance. The person with the avoidant attachment style will think about their time apart as being independent, self-reliant. And honestly, they may not think much about their partner at all. They'll expect that if their partner is feeling anxious, that it's their partner that needs to work on it. They will have a hard time accepting that it's their responsibility to connect. And the person with a secure attachment will have considered their partner while apart, and they'll assume that their partner will still love them when they return together. And the secure attacher will know that it's their responsibility to communicate and connect when they do come together. We all have a preferred attachment style, and the truth is they started when we were very young. And it's true that you can change your attachment style, and sometimes it's somewhat dependent on who you're in relationship with. We actually live out our attachment styles in way more than just our romantic attachments. We live them out in all of our relationships, familial, friendships, and our relationship with God. Our text today, again, is about the beauty of coming together, that moment when you realize that you're still in the heart of the other. And I wonder, how have attachment styles played out for you, especially over this season of pandemic? Has the togetherness of your family heightened your sense of anxiety, or has it calmed it? Has your individual isolation made you feel anxious about connecting with others, or has it made you feel more self-reliant? Nurturing our relationships has been so hard during these times. Those things we rely on to boost our relationships just aren't there right now. I mean, it's really hard to have a date night when you can't go anywhere, right? And as much as Zoom is a good thing, it's not the same thing to have a Zoom happy hour with your friends or your partner as it is to actually be in person. It's the same with our meeting house. Visiting on Zoom is not the same as visiting in person. So here's what I want to say to you about your relationships today. If you are feeling worried about your relationships, let me invite you to cut yourself some slack. And while you're at it, cut your relationship partners some slack too. As we move more and more back into the world, back into our relationships, we can expect that there will be bumps and bruises. We're all experiencing some difficulties right now. I'm convinced that the work of the next few years will be to learn or relearn how to build intimate relationships that help us not only to know another, but to be known by another. Relationships that reveal to us the intimate nature of love with God, so that we experience love fully where we are and as we are. It is my prayer that as we begin to understand this new world that we're entering, a world where we are so much more aware of our vulnerabilities, whether from tiny viruses or economic downturns or climate disaster or crumbling infrastructure, it's my prayer that we know this joy that we find in today's text, the excitement of connecting in love with others and with God. The good news, y'all, is that we are so completely loved by God, known and loved, that God is like this bridegroom in this text, excitedly looking forward to our gathering together. And by leaning into that knowledge, the knowledge that we are fully known and fully loved, we can lean into the idea that another, our relationship partners, our friends and our lovers, can fully know us and love us too. And we can respond in kind. This is the way.